Good evening, everybody. I learned a very, very valuable lesson this evening. I was looking at something on YouTube, and a K6 UDA from California came on, who was out camping and got notified that all their power would be turned off. Go for it, California. But I tell you what, it taught them a very valuable lesson. Now, what happened was, after I completely watched the whole video, I sat down and thought about how I'm prepared for that same happening. Now, they were quite lucky out there. They were calling for extreme high winds, and they shut it down because of power lines starting fires. But that never happened. But it became a very valuable lesson for the rest of the United States. And I think I wanted to get on here and make a quick video for not only my friends in the ham radio group, but for all of my friends that watched a video. Now, very possible we could have a hurricane here. Hurricane Hazel hit back in 1956, wiped everything out here for a while, but it wasn't gross. We had a 30-inch snowstorm, and can you imagine if all the power went out during that snowstorm? Yeah, there were people like my sister who lives out in the boondocks, about 7-10 miles from here, that did lose power for 7 days. And now they have a generator. But in this lesson, not only having a generator is good, but having the gas to run the generator. So I'm going to go down this step by step and just bring up the items that something you should think about. You don't have to have a generator, but some of the other things, some of the other items you should have to survive a actual power down emergency. We call it off the grid. I enjoy living in my camper off the grid. I do have a solar charger there. I do have 2 solar chargers hooked up to the house, and I do have inverters so I can run my refrigerator. I also have a generator. But let's go down this step by step. I want to do it the same way he did it in his 8 steps to properly plan for an emergency. So let me, first of all, show you my ham shack, what will and will not work during a power down outage. So stand by for a second. Let me get this thing mounted. Okay, let me show you where I start. This is my world map. As you can see, all the pins. That's everybody I've talked to. But I got to tell you, if there's a power down, if there's a power outage for hours or days on end, this map won't help at all. Now you'll see over here in the United States area, again, all too far away from Pennsylvania. That's not going to help. I'm not worried about what people are doing in New York or Canada or Virginia. I'm worried about what's happening right here in Pennsylvania. So let's go for a real quick tour here of my ham shack, and I'll show you what I have that's ready to go. First of all, I just want to give you a peek. It's dark outside, but right outside that window, that black wire coming in, is my solar pickup from the sun. That's heading southeast, southwest. So anytime after 9 o'clock in the morning, I am charging my battery. Now there it is, 12.8, that's full charge. So I've got a deep cell battery right there. Out in my backyard, I've also have a solar charger that's hooked up to my camper right now. It's 100 watts. This one here is only 60. All right, coming around, have an AM radio, have a tiny TV for portable use. I have my HTs, or those of you out there that are not into ham radio, amateur radio, walkie-talks to you, but they are handheld transmitters to us. Right now I've got the battery plugged in. It's at 60%, so at 12.8 it's still not fully charged. I also have a full band radio hooked up to a wire outside. That's the gray box right behind it. It's an end-fed wire. Coming over to this side, that big box right there is my power supply for this radio. This radio is the radio that talks all around the world. Well, so does that one. That's more or less a portable. I can make a Go radio with it, pick it up, put it in my truck, and go and talk around the world. All right. You're not going to have any computer. You're not going to have any power for the computer. You're not going to have Wi-Fi. It's all going to be down. This guy taught us that all the power outs, their battery backup systems, only lasted for hours, not days. You're not going to have Wi-Fi for your tablets, for your computers. Of course, the modem Wi-Fi is sitting right there, and you can see I've got power across the board to include the internet. That's the last green light on the right. The little green and red, I should say green and blue, because nobody's talking right now. But when that turns red light on there, that means somebody's talking on the digital side, which goes through the laptop. That'll be out of service. You'll see I have a little TV up here. Now that's a battery-operated TV. I have it to an external antenna, and I just left it on the Weather Channel. So you can see that if power goes out, I will still have television. Now, it all depends where we get our television from. If they lose power, they're also going to be off the air. So I do have about 10 different channels on there that I can get. Okay, here in this corner, I've got a little power supply. That's run on 110, but as you can see, it's producing about 13.5 to 14 volts, which powers that radio right there. That radio is set on a repeater on our mountain. Here's the problem. That repeater is not going to last very long. So you should have programmed into your units direct, they call it simplex, from radio to radio. It'll go through the same antenna, and that antenna, after I show you this, my map of only the United States, and as you can see, I have a lot of contacts starting where I'm at, way up there in that little mess of an area right there. And I've talked mostly all over eastern United States. Now I have a few contacts out there in the west, and you can't see Oregon, Washington, California. You can't see those states real well. Of course, Nevada's hidden in there too. But I do have contacts out there. That's why I have all those pins lined up on the left side. So I have talked to people on the West Coast. But as you can see, up the middle, right up the Continental Divide, is where it's very sketchy with the amount of people that we've talked to. But again, why would we want to talk that far when the emergency is right here in Pennsylvania? So you want to be able to talk to people local. Now, believe it or not, that antenna right there with the little curly Q on it is the antenna that I'm using with that wire to that radio. Oops, come on in focus. There it goes. To that radio right there. And believe it or not, I can talk on that radio with that little antenna all over this city. All over this city, which is exactly what I want to do. So the Wi-Fi is going in and out. There's the red light flashing, and then it goes green, and it'll go red again. But why it's happening to me, I don't know. But that's it right now. I'm powered up. I'm ready to go in case of an emergency. I do have a generator that'll keep my refrigerator and or heater running in the house. I also have kerosene heaters. Don't forget, we're in Pennsylvania. We're not in California where those guys stay warm a lot. So let me put this up on the rack and I'll get right back to you. Okay, let's continue with the list. Let's talk first of all about the survival items you need. And I'm going to start with the very first one that's really the most important, and that's water. Not only do you need at least a gallon of water a day per person, but you're going to need water for cooking. You're going to need water for flushing the toilet. Yeah, I've got a little bit of a backyard, and yes, I have porta potties and all that, and I can probably hold off until the water pressure comes back on. But it's nice to be able to flush it. So a bucket of water will flush the toilet for you. Water, you can't live without for over 3 or 4 days. And that is provided you don't do anything. You need water. That's number 1 on the list. Number 2 is food. You can live up to 3 weeks with food. 3 to 4 weeks, you can do it. But everybody has food in their refrigerator. Even if it's just hot dogs and beer,
you have some food in the refrigerator. I also have a supply of freeze-dried food that I use for camping, Mountain House, and there's a couple other good ones out there. My last video showed us cooking some out in the woods over an open campfire. You boil some water, put in the food, you can eat very good. Food is something to think about. Now, of course, you're going to lose your electric for the refrigerator, so that would be the first food you want to consume, and leave the canned goods for later. Yes, it'll get boring, but it'll keep you alive. A first aid kit. I'm not saying you're going to get out there and want to sew people back together again, but doing stuff in the dark, you're going to be stubbing toes, you're going to be cutting fingers. It's good to have a first aid kit more than what's just in your medicine cabinet or your shelves in the closet. That's something to think about. Okay, let's talk about generators. Not only is it good to have a generator that'll keep your refrigerator running, but you gotta have gas for the generator. Gas stations are gonna close. They're not gonna be able to pump gas. So what you have in your vehicle or in your lawnmowers and your standby gas cans is all you're gonna have. You gotta hope that you can either get somewhere with what you have in your car, or you have enough to keep you running for 5 to 7 days. They were threatened out in California to be down for a week, 5 to 7 days. Luckily, they came back on 3 to 4 days later, so they were okay. But K6 UDA out there in California, who made the video, said that the lines were atrocious. Some of the grocery stores did call in power trucks to keep them running, and that they didn't lose food, but you can imagine what the lines were like at those stores. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but we're in a situation where this could happen to us. I don't want to say look overseas. That's ridiculous. We're here. We got to take care of ourselves. Don't expect the government to come running in. They're doing what they can. You also got to keep in mind, like he said about generators, if you do get to run one, that's like a beacon to people that want to steal and rob. So you got to think about running it. You got to think about keeping your eye on it. You can't do it indoors. It's got to be outside or you'll kill yourselves. Keep in mind, a lot of people are going to take off and go where there is power if they can get there, which means their houses are going to be dark. Their alarms are going to be down. Not much you can do about it. That's the way it is. Those houses are going to get hit first. With a generator, they might know that you're home. You got a light on in the house, they're going to know you're home. They're going to stay away from you. But during the day, keep an eye on your stuff. Stay home, watch it, make sure nobody takes it so that they get their own power. Things to think about if it goes down. It was an eye-opener for me. I could grab my go bag in my truck with the XYL, that's my wife, and we can live in my camper. We can live in the tent in the back of the truck for days. I've got food, I've got water. One other thing I do have is a rain barrel out back. I've got 55 gallons of water in my rain barrel. I can flush my toilets. I can boil it and do my dishes. Keep things clean. I can use it to wash with. So I'm prepared. I'm not saying get over here to my house. I'm not going to give you any. If I do, it's going to be enough to keep you alive. Drinking water. I always have a case or two of bottled water down in the cellar. I have a 5-gallon and a 6-gallon can of water that I keep for camping that I take on my camper. That keeps us going for 3, 4, 5 days. Them alone. Plus I put water in the porta potty. So it's things like that you got to think about. Now, he brought up a couple more items, and if I can get my computer to turn back on to YouTube, I'll bring them up. So stand by. Okay, I've got him on. It is K6 UDA out of California, and he is going through them step by step, and I'm going to do the same thing for you. Now, please remember, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to get you prepared and stay prepared, and that's exactly his first step. So let me go into the second step, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, his step 3 was buy a generator. I'm not telling everybody to go out there and buy a generator, but I am saying have some sort of power. Now keep in mind, your cell phones need to be recharged. Some of your batteries, some of your radios need to be recharged. The ham operators out in California actually set up recharging stations for people with cell phones. Now that was when they were able to get within a tower and talk. If power goes down, cell phone towers are going to go down too, and you won't be able to use it. But those people that have tablets for the kids to watch movies that are already downloaded, there you go. You're going to run out of power and you're going to need it. All right, that's step 3. Solar power works too. They have these little solar cells. You can go to any camping store and buy one of them. But you will also need a controller. Now let me show you one. Stand by. This is a solar charger. What it does is takes the power I showed you out the window. I have this running out the window to the solar panel, and it runs to the battery, right, through the wires to the battery, and keeps the battery fully charged. Now, yeah, I also have the electric hooked up to it. That's why all the clamps and the other clamps are for the radio. But that solar charger will keep this battery completely charged without using my house electricity. Don't forget, you do need to have one of these. They do have them at Lowe's. They do have them at Home Depot. They do have them at all the camper stores. That's something you got to think about, because that solar cell will overcharge and boil away a battery. Okay, we were still talking about power. I showed you my battery setup here. I do have a larger one in the camper, and I have one down in my man cave. The one thing he did stress, the next step was, and that's step number 4, is gas. Don't forget to have gas on hand for it. I mentioned that already. They also sell that chemical stable that keeps the gas okay for months on end. I've had mine for a year, but a good idea is rotate it. Pour that gas into your vehicle, use it up, take the gas can, get some fresh gas, and put some stable in it. That'll keep that gas good to go. Now I have about 5 to 7 gallons at all times ready to go. That's step number 4. Don't forget to rotate the gas. I'm going to look up the next step. Stand by. All right, I touched a bit on water. You can store as much as you possibly can. Like I said, I've got a 55-gallon drum, catches rainwater. That can be used for stuff. But don't count on your faucets working very long. Now, as long as we have a little bit of gravity feed, you might get some. But good ideas are fill up your bathtub. Use that. There you can get 20, 30 gallons in a bathtub. The back of the toilet, where you flush it, there's water in there. That's clean water until you get it down into the bowl, and then you don't want to use that. But having water, you can store it, especially these plastic jugs. You can store it for years. Step 6, he brings up is security. He said out there in California, a lot of his neighbors packed up and went to people that had power. They lived with their relatives. They lived in motels that had power, which might have only been 2 blocks away. But they had nothing for their house. Of course, they left their house. There's where the security comes in place. So keep an eye on your stuff. Make sure you lock your stuff away. If you can, stay home and live on your own and watch your own stuff. Okay, items 7 and 8 that he talks about. Number 7 is gas stations and grocery stores. Even if they are open, they're going to be jammed. You're going to have waiting lines. You're going to have very cranky people. You're going to have people that need to get it before you do, which is not true. You're all in the same boat. Security, you are your own policeman. Don't be expecting to get on any phones, especially if cell phones are down, or on your landline, because they will still work. They're powered through the phone company. And expect a policeman to show up when you see somebody getting to somebody else's house. You are your own security. Protect yourself and your family. In my case, yeah, I'd probably have some family come over here and stay with us. Probably have a big party on the living room floor and sleep there and enjoy ourselves. Plus, I got the camper. I could put another family in there. Just something to think about. The last item he brought up is ham radio, but I'm going to change that a little bit. Those of us that are hams and have this equipment that you saw that I have all around this room, yeah, we can stay in contact and we can keep people informed. But have yourself an AM/FM radio with batteries, or the new crank type where you can crank them up and supply your own power to the radio for a couple of minutes and listen to what's going on, to the news, to the weather, to what's happening with the power outage. So these are 8 items that I think are very important, and it opened my eyes, and I wanted to get this out to everybody just to think about it. You know, being retired military, being Army, I'm going to take care of me and my family. I hope you get a chance to take care of you and yours. I'll be there to help you if you want my help setting up something in the way of a rain barrel or batteries or radios. Give me a call, especially those around here in Reading, Pennsylvania, because I'm not going to be going to Harrisburg or Scranton or New York City or Philly to help anybody. I'm going to help my local people, and I'm going to help my family. So I'm here. Give me a call, especially my family or friends. I'll do what I can for you, but I'm not going to promise anything. I'm going to keep me and mine going strong. Thank you for watching. Think about it. Have a good day. Bye.